Tractor Supply is a preparedness store that does not market itself as one. The people who know what they are looking for walk out with solutions that FEMA's public guidance never points consumers toward. 9 of the most useful are on shelves right now. Number 1. Galvanized steel garbage cans. Galvanized steel garbage cans in the 30 to 32 gallon size are a product Tractor Supply carries primarily for farm waste and livestock feed storage, and experienced preppers use them for 2 completely different purposes. The first is bulk dry food storage. A galvanized steel can sealed with a tight lid and a rubber gasket with a few oxygen absorber packets placed inside before sealing creates a rodent-proof, moisture-resistant, pest-resistant container for large quantities of rice, beans, oats, or cornmeal that outperforms most commercial food-grade buckets in durability at a similar or lower price point. The second application is as an improvised Faraday cage for protecting electronics from electromagnetic pulse events. A galvanized steel container with a tight metal lid acts as a conductive enclosure that can shield small electronics, including radios, battery banks, and communication devices from the electromagnetic fields produced by a coronal mass ejection or a high-altitude electromagnetic pulse. The electronics are placed inside wrapped in a non-conductive material, the lid is sealed, and the container is stored on a non-conductive surface. This application is documented in military and civilian electromagnetic hardening literature as a viable improvised solution for household electronics protection. Number 2. Granular calcium hypochlorite pool shock. Calcium hypochlorite in granular pool shock form is one of the highest value water purification purchases available at any retail location, and Tractor Supply carries it in the pool and livestock supply sections at prices that make the math obviously compelling. 1 pound of granular calcium hypochlorite at 68 to 78% concentration, which is the standard concentration available at TSC, and most pool supply retailers, treats approximately 10,000 gallons of water when used correctly. A standard 1-pound bag costs approximately $5 to $8, which means the per-gallon water treatment cost is a fraction of a penny. FEMA's water purification guidance recommends household bleach as an emergency treatment method, but does not specifically direct people to pool shock, which achieves the same chemical disinfection at a dramatically lower cost per gallon, treated and with a significantly longer shelf life. Since granular calcium hypochlorite stored sealed in a cool, dry location maintains its potency for years, while liquid bleach degrades within 6 to 12 months. The correct usage rate for water purification is 1/8 of a teaspoon of granular pool shock per gallon of water, which produces approximately 2 parts per million of available chlorine in the treated water. Number 3. Kerosene heater. Kerosene heaters are a category Tractor Supply stocks specifically for agricultural and farm building heating, and the models available there, including Dynaglow and similar brands, are heavy-duty units designed for sustained use in uninsulated structures that outperform most consumer-grade kerosene heaters sold at hardware retailers in terms of heat output and fuel efficiency. FEMA's cold weather preparedness guidance recommends backup heating sources for power outages, but does not specifically direct people to agricultural supply stores, where the selection of higher output and more durable units is often better than what big box retailers carry. A kerosene heater with a 5-gallon fuel storage container and appropriate treating additives to prevent gelling in cold storage represents a backup heating capability that operates completely independently of electrical infrastructure and can heat a significant portion of a home during an extended winter power outage. Kerosene has a shelf life of 2 to 5 years when stored properly in sealed containers away from light and heat, which makes it a practical fuel for medium-term emergency stockpiling. Number 4. Food-grade diatomaceous earth. Food-grade diatomaceous earth from brands including Harris, available at Tractor Supply in larger bags than most grocery or hardware stores carry, serves 2 distinct functions in a serious food storage program. The first is long-term grain protection. Mixing 1 cup of food-grade diatomaceous earth per 50 pounds of stored grain before sealing kills grain weevils, flour beetles, and other pantry insects through physical abrasion of their exoskeletons rather than chemical toxicity, which means the grain remains food safe and the protection does not degrade over time the way chemical pesticide treatments do. The second function is emergency pest control throughout a storage area, applied as a barrier around the perimeter of shelving, along walls, and at entry points where insects might access stored food. Food-grade diatomaceous earth is approved by the USDA and EPA for use in grain storage and is the same material used in commercial food storage facilities for exactly these applications. The food-grade designation is essential, as pool-grade diatomaceous earth is not safe for food contact. Number 5. Rubbermaid agricultural stock tanks. Rubbermaid commercial agricultural stock tanks in the 50 to 100 gallon size represent the most cost-effective bulk water storage option available at any retail outlet compared to purpose-built water storage barrels or bladder tanks, marketed specifically for emergency preparedness. FEMA's preparedness guidance recommends storing 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 2 weeks, which is 14 gallons per person, and a single 100-gallon stock tank holds enough water for a family of 4 for approximately 25 days at that rate. Stock tanks are made from high-density polyethylene, are UV-resistant, and are certified food-safe in their manufacturing process. The cost per gallon of storage capacity in a stock tank is significantly lower than the same capacity in dedicated emergency water barrels, and the open-top design of most stock tank models makes them easy to fill, easy to clean, and easy to add water treatment tablets or chlorine to maintain safe storage. Positioning a stock tank in a basement or on a shaded north-facing exterior wall, rather than in direct sunlight, extends the shelf life of treated water stored inside it significantly, since UV exposure accelerates the degradation of residual chlorine in treated water and promotes algal growth that reduces water quality over time. Number 6. Heirloom garden seeds. Heirloom and open-pollinated garden seeds available at Tractor Supply in individual seed packets represent a food production capability that FEMA's preparedness guidance addresses conceptually, but that most preparedness content fails to connect to accessible retail sources. Heirloom seeds differ from hybrid seeds in one critical way that matters for long-term preparedness. They can be saved from a harvest and replanted the following season, producing plants true to type. Hybrid seeds generally do not reproduce reliably when saved, requiring repurchase every growing season. Tractor Supply's seed selection focuses on practical vegetable and herb varieties suited to the regional climate of each store location, which means the seeds available at a specific TSC location are already pre-selected for viability in the local growing conditions. A $10 investment in a selection of heirloom vegetable seeds represents the starting point for a sustainable food production capability that can theoretically multiply itself indefinitely through seed saving. The seed saving practice that makes heirloom seeds valuable requires only learning which seeds to collect, how to dry them properly, and how to store them in cool, dry sealed conditions, all of which are documented in free USDA and University Agricultural Extension publications available online. Number 7. Lodge cast iron cookware. Lodge cast iron cookware available at Tractor Supply covers a cooking function that no other widely available material can match in an emergency preparedness context. The ability to cook over an open flame, on a propane burner, on a wood stove, on a rocket stove, on a charcoal grill, or on any other heat source without any risk of damage to the cooking vessel. Cast iron does not warp from heat, does not produce toxic fumes when overheated, does not require electricity, and with proper seasoning, maintenance is a genuinely non-stick cooking surface that improves in performance over decades of use rather than degrading. A 12-inch cast iron skillet and a 5-quart cast iron Dutch oven purchased at TSC cover virtually all emergency cooking applications from frying and sautéing to baking and long-duration simmering, and the combined cost of under $60 represents cooking infrastructure that will outlast the person who buys it. The Lodge brand available at TSC is the same quality as Lodge sold anywhere else and frequently at the same or lower price. Number 8. Sisal baler twine. Sisal baler twine is one of Tractor Supply's most fundamental products, sold in large spools for agricultural tying and baling applications, and it is simultaneously one of the most versatile and underappreciated preparedness tools available at any retail price point. Natural fiber sisal twine, as opposed to polypropylene synthetic twine, is biodegradable, holds knots securely without slipping. The way synthetic materials do, can be twisted and braided into heavier cordage, burns cleanly as a fire-starting tinder when dry, and serves in shelter construction, gear organization, load securing, and dozens of field improvisation applications where a lightweight and inexpensive natural cordage is the correct material. A large spool at TSC costs under $15 and contains enough twine to address virtually any cordage need that arises across an extended emergency period without rationing or concern about running out. The biodegradability of Sisal twine is also a practical advantage in a homesteading or long-term sustainability context, since materials that can be composted or left to decompose do not create the accumulating waste management problem that synthetic materials create in extended or permanent off-grid living situations. A large spool at TSC costs under $15 and represents one of the most versatile single purchases on this entire list. Number 9. Veterinary Wound Treatment Spray. Veterinary Wound and Infection Treatment Spray, available in the livestock care section of Tractor Supply, is a hypochlorous acid solution approved for use on animals that is chemically equivalent to the hypochlorous acid wound irrigation products used in human medicine and marketed for significantly higher prices in pharmacy first aid sections. Hypochlorous acid is produced naturally by the human immune system to fight infection, and the synthetic version in Veterinary is effective against bacteria, viruses, fungi, and spores without damaging healthy tissue the way hydrogen peroxide does, which is why wound care clinicians have largely moved away from hydrogen peroxide for wound irrigation in favor of hypochlorous acid solutions. The veterinary formulation available at TSC is not labeled for human use, but is chemically equivalent to products sold for human wound care. And emergency medicine literature has documented its effectiveness in wound irrigation and infection prevention across the same range of applications for which the human-labeled version is prescribed. The price differential between the veterinary formulation at TSC and the human-labeled equivalent at a pharmacy can be significant enough to make the TSC version the practical choice for anyone stocking a serious first aid supply intended to cover wound care needs across an extended period without resupply access. Subscribe for the next video on which other retail stores the most prepared households quietly rely on.